Hey everyone, of course, back here with Ben. We're going to be talking about Compass, field trip, and what that means to the industry, but also kind of get some insight from Ben. Obviously, he does a lot of investing, definitely a finance guy. Might be able to shed some light behind the scenes, his opinions, his views, things to think about. First things first, Ben, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. Not bad. It's another day here in South Florida. How about
Oh,
yourself?
good. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. No complaints. Up here in Canada, we had Thanksgiving this past weekend. Definitely ate way too much turkey. But hey, you have to, right? So
Yeah,
things are good.
just wondering what the Thanksgiving was in Canada. Did the Pilgrims cross over, or where did they get it from? What was the thought process behind the Canadian Thanksgiving?
Look, it was weird. I'll be honest. We did just super immediate family, just my parents and my two sisters. No uncles, no aunts. I almost preferred it, if I'm being really honest, which is probably terrible, but I definitely preferred that. I'm used to whenever there's a family gathering, and we'll edit this out. But I'm used to there's like 100 questions. Oh, what do you do? And it's like you're not gonna get it anyway. Like every time there's a family gathering, it's just
How do you make it happen? How do you
e-
make it happen? No, it's ridiculous.
exactly.
So, okay, so you're back from your holiday break, and now you're back to work.
That's right. Back to the grind. But you guys have some pretty exciting elections coming up, I guess. And
We do. It's an exciting time here in the U.S.
yeah,
Uh, like
but
no time before. We have a Supreme Court justice, we have the election, we have COVID. It's just a crazy time of life.
Q,
2020 is going down in history.
Q4 2020, what a time. But look, there's been some really exciting psychedelic news too, right? Over the past, let's just call it past month, Compass Pathways, which they're a billion-dollar market cap, having a ton of backing, really adding what seems like a lot of seriousness and experience to the space that wasn't really there before. And then you've got Field Trip, sitting at about a $200 million market cap that went through the CSE. Would love to let's first talk about Compass. So they come out, they do their IPO. It blows up. They even have some very reputable reports that go out saying, "Hey, this company could, be a $100 stock, which is about a $3 billion company over the next 12 months." What's your take, Ben? Have you looked at any of that?
Yeah, Compass has some really big institutional investors, Peter Thiel and Akalai out of Germany. They're going after some unique compounds. And if I had to compare them to a cannabis company, GW Pharmaceuticals. So if you look at GW, almost on the same type of path, from $25-$30 a share to a $3 billion market cap, $100 plus a share of stock, throughout the growth of the CBD and cannabis timeframe back in 2017, 18, 19, and now in 2020. And so when you look at Compass, they're going after some of the same type of transactions, pharmaceutical, developing molecules, and going through an FDA process. And they're going to raise a lot of capital, so they need the market cap and the liquidity and the notoriety, because they're a drug development company. And for that, they're going to need to go through the FDA and the phases of 1, 2, all the way up to phase 3. And the average drug development could be 60 million up to 100 million to get into phase 3 with human trials. So they're helping right now boost the sector, put a spotlight on it. And I think that they're going to, trade. They have big investment banks behind them, which could support. And it's giving the average investor an opportunity to be in a NASDAQ listed psychedelic company, which is the first one, versus all these other companies that are trading on the Canadian exchange.
Yeah, no, and they had incredible success. And then you had Mindmed come out and say they'll be looking to do an uplisting. Look, Mindmed gets the most hate and love of any psychedelic company, at least publicly. I think Kevin O'Leary is a big part of that. Also bringing over kind of the corporate side of business. And and I guess what rubbed people the wrong way in some cases, look, you either say you're you're uplisting or you're not, and there's out here saying, oh, we're going to be trying to. They did it as a press release. What's kind of your take on Mindmed?
Mindmed, I wish I bought the stock at 50 cents. As hindsight's a bitch. No, they're in the same path. As Compass, um, they're another drug development company. They're in a bunch of different trials in different parts of the world. They're looking at different compounds, and they'll probably be also a successful company. But as most of these companies, they're going to have to raise a lot more capital to get through these FDA trials and human trials, and that's going to be the challenge to see if it's going to stay with the multiple that it has today, or does it consolidate with the sector once these guys go into their phases and start putting out some science and data to see really what's the cost of it. And so at $1.50, their cost of capital has gone down by 200% from a few weeks ago. And so you probably, if I was Mindmed, I'd probably end up doing a capital raise soon. And maybe that's why they're talking about their uplisting, is because they'll probably end up doing capital raise.
No, interesting. Do you want to talk about, what I think is interesting, companies like Compass, obviously Mindmed if they get to the Nasdaq as well. What that means for the sector. Obviously Compass over the past month, at least to me, looks like it brought a lot more legitimacy to the space. What have you seen? What's your understanding?
Well, that's a good question, Jason. Probably since Compass has gone public, you've seen the sector on some of the smaller issuers out there that have gone public, gone up, 50, 60, 70% in market value. Their volume has picked up tenfold. So an interest in the sector is definitely there right now. And, I think that you're going to see new companies come out every week. Most of them are coming out on the Canadian exchange. They're all, looking like they're not identical, but some of the stories are overlapping. So they're all going after, mental health, or they're going after a new compound from an old compound, and usually with inside synthetic, and they're going to go out and develop it to become a drug to be used in human interaction for different ailments. So when I look at the overall sector, it looks like there are a lot of ships being put into the ocean. Which ones get to the finish line? Only time will tell. But today, you have a lot of good-looking, quality stories, and will they become businesses? Are the question. And when they do become a business, what is the value of that business worth? So today, what you're seeing is the pure speculation of what the future could be. And a lot of times, as it happened in the cannabis business, and it happened just recently in the COVID vaccine companies, a lot of times they overshoot their mark because of euphoria. So I think that we're in the middle of round one. Compass was the plateau probably to move into round two. We'll see Atai come public. I know they're doing their E round right now. A buddy of mine just invested some money in that deal, and it was oversubscribed. So that company owns part of Compass, right? And some of the same investors are in that deal as well. And I think they're like a fund of funds that they've invested in a numerous amount of psychedelic companies. So they have holdings in a lot of companies that are going public and some that have gone public. And it's exciting times because what happens is they're all going to create huge data sets. And that's really where, Ehave is positioned itself to work on collecting that data and categorizing it, and then reselling it to companies like Field Trips or Mindmed. Those companies are going to go and develop, ketamine clinics and other means of helping people with mental health today in these legal venues. And what that is going to offer us to see in the future is a chance of collecting data in partnerships, in competition, in different fashions, but more on the botanical side. And that's something that I noticed as well. Only a handful of companies are really taking that exposure to the botanical side and trying to go out and figure out how to develop a suitable drug using, mushrooms or ibogaine. And so that's really where I like to see the next batch of companies that are coming out. There's going to always be these synthetic companies. Um, there are a bunch of delivery systems that are coming out as well. But the real thing I'd like to keep an eye out for is how the companies that are going to work in the botanicals are going to enter the market, what their strategy are to execute and get into humans with being inside the scope of FDA approval. So for me, I think we have a long road ahead of us. 2020 has gone by pretty quickly. And we've probably seen 20 plus psychedelic companies launch in some fashion or form, and probably see 50 of them, if not 100, come in 2021.